Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Your Gray Matters. I'm Neil. We are excited this week because we're helping to launch a book. Last January, you had a chance to watch on our podcast, Dr. Jeffrey Karp. There is a link in the description if you want to watch that original podcast. It's worth it. Who's Jeff Karp? Think of celebrity names, think of entertainers. But in the world of science, this renowned young man is highly sought after. His book, LIT, Life Ignition Tools, is going to be for you. So watch this introduction. We're launching the book today. Thanks, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm Neil from Your Gray Matters. Welcome back. And we are really excited today. If you remember back last January, and you can find our podcast on our YouTube channel, Your Gray Matters, or the usual audio podcasts, we were privileged to have this gentleman who you see, Dr. Jeffrey Karp, on our show. Jeff is a world-renowned biomedical engineer. He's an inventor. He's an incredible business person, but he has this brilliant mind and a heart of gold to go with it. And we are really lucky to have him on today. I asked Jeff to come back because he's launching his new book. It's coming out shortly. It's called LIT, L-I-T, Life's Ignition Tools. Jeff, welcome to Your Gray Matters. Let's talk about your book. I wanted you on because you make such a difference in people's lives. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, so nice to be back. Thanks for the invite.
Really happy to have you. So, Jeff, let's talk about this great book. Why don't you give us a brief overview of the upcoming book and what inspired you to write this book, Jeff?
Absolutely. So LIT it's a set of holistic tools, 12 simple holistic tools that can help us to tap into a heightened state of awareness that we can bring to any situation, to any moment. And it can help us to figure out what the next step might be in potentially anything, to more deeply connect with somebody, to become more creative, to tap into our curiosity, to get into the observer mode so we can kind of see how we might be reactive to certain things, and to really help us to not just intercept patterns, but determine based on our values what might be the best new patterns to engage to really rewire our brains and lead the most fulfilling lives we can with a deep sense of wellness. And what happened was in somewhere around 2017 or so, an agent reached out to me from New York. She had read an article on some of the work we are doing in my laboratory where we turn to nature for inspiration. So this field of bioinspiration. And she asked if I'd be interested in perhaps writing a book about it. And while I was interested, I was even more interested in writing about something else. And that something else is really kind of came out of some of the challenges and struggles and things that I went through when I was a child with undiagnosed learning differences and ADHD. And my life has really been, I would say, in many ways, well, I'll say it this way. The tools from LIT didn't come out of my laboratory. They actually came out of my life's laboratory, because I've really had to experiment with all kinds of different things. In fact, I would almost say, that I have often experimented with things or tried things on to figure out, to really feel what I'm not, to know what I am. So what I mean by that is through recognizing patterns of behavior of other people, I've tried to mimic some of those patterns, some of those behaviors, to see if they would connect with me. And what I found was that some of them did, a lot of them didn't. But that process through experimentation and really deeply kind of trying to have a sense of awareness of how I felt. So for example, in my laboratory, I feel when I was coming out of my PhD at University of Toronto, and then I did a postdoctoral fellowship at MIT, I kind of got this sense that I was just repeating what I knew when I started my laboratory. I got this sense that the environments that I'd been subjected to, that I just tended to learn a certain way of doing things, and then I would repeat it. So mentorship, writing, academic papers, presentations, kind of everything. But what I started to realize as I was, beginning my faculty position and trying to figure out what's my strategy going to be for everything, I realized there were a number of things that just didn't feel right to me.
Hmm.
And so that sort of put me into this experimentation mode, which I'm very accustomed to because my whole life has been about experimentation in and out of the lab. And I started to sort of look around and see how are other people mentoring. And I started to sort of try those methodologies. Some things felt right, some things didn't. And that's how I sort of evolved my strategy for everything in life and in my lab.
Wow, it's fascinating because I guess what you're telling me is that you tried to discover yourself, learn about yourself by following what others were doing, living your own experiences, and now you're willing to share these with people through your book. Is that a good way of putting
Exactly.
it? Wow.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Yeah.
So was that challenging for you to do that, to decide to do that?
Well, there was a period of my life where I think, just around the time I met my wife and before I had carried around notebooks and I would just write things down. And I would just get almost like these transmissions of just thoughts and ideas. But since I, have ADHD and some learning differences and, I really took me, and I would say, early on, it was a struggle. Over time, it became more of a challenge. So there was this transition from struggle to challenge, and challenge in a good way, because I felt that as I sort of went on and road tested all kinds of strategies and methodologies and patterns of behavior, I found that I could, in many ways, like kind of imprint these patterns in my mind, and they would get easier. I'd become more efficient. And so my whole life had really been about how can I improve efficiencies, because everything just took me, forever to do. But over time, I actually did become more efficient. And I think that, why don't we go back to what was your question again? Because my ADHD is going all
That's
over the place.
okay. I'm loving it,
Yeah.
actually. I was really just talking about the challenges of writing a book like this.
Yeah.
And some of the things that you learned yourself by writing the book, because I think what I'm hearing from you is by reading this book, people can start perhaps to find great answers to their own challenges.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, what I've realized is, so the tools, there's these 12 tools, and, you can use one at a time or you can use them together, and, they work really great in partnership. These tools are designed to flood our brains with positive neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin, and to make us feel really good. They're designed to help us to overcome fear and hesitation that often hold us back when there's opportunities that exist in front of us. And, sometimes it's hard to take that first step, just to put ourselves out there and, take a risk. And their tools are designed to help us to embrace failure really as a step towards progress, as a step towards gaining the greatest insights and seeing, opportunities for growth. The tools are designed to help us to act our minds by looking at questions as a skill, something that we can practice and get better at. And questions, I think, are really our best technology that we have available. They can help us to connect with people. They can help us to, in the laboratory, it really comes down to the questions that we ask, or the questions that we don't ask. And I think that, yeah, so these tools are designed to really help us figure out what is that next step, to help us create the space so we can sort of determine what really aligns with our values, and what might be the step we can take where we can learn something, maybe where that step doesn't lead us to a specific goal, but we can identify some insight that might be really helpful for us to make decisions and be more intentional.
Jeff, what you're saying is so fantastic to me because I don't know if you know, but I have a reading disability. and I've never ever really been able to read books easily. So I love to say I've read every book 5 times because I have to read each page 5 times before the message gets from here to here. I have a fine mind, but that message just doesn't seem to work. But in 1995, I was introduced through business associates of mine to the importance of reading and reading the right stuff. And I think that's why I'm so excited to have you on, because I learned the brilliance and the beauty of putting this positive in to get the positive out. And I started my own exploration. So I concur what you've done by writing everything down that you've talked about can only be beneficial for other people as it has been for you. So really, really congratulations on this. It's absolutely phenomenal. Jeff, I think knowing some people who have written books, usually the promoters get you out there, meeting people and signing books and talking about books. First and foremost, when officially is your book coming out?
The book comes out on April the 9th, and it should come out as a hardcover and then also as an audiobook.
Wonderful. Well, I know that we've ordered ours and we can't wait. And then I'll be tracking you down to get you to sign it. But Jeff, whereabouts are you going to be speaking? Are you going on to the speakers circle? Whatever circuit? I've heard it
Yeah,
called all three.
there's a lot of different terms. Yeah, no. So I'm giving a talk, actually doing a book signing at the Brookline Booksmith near Boston on April the 11th. That's at 7 p.m. And then I'm going out west to a few of my friends are hosting various sort of book launch events in San Francisco and Los Angeles. And then on May the 2nd, I'll be doing a book launch event in Toronto at the University of Toronto bookstore at 4 p.m. So May 2nd at 4 p.m. on the main campus bookstore.
Wonderful. Well, if you keep us up to date on where you're going to be, we're going to keep posting that for you. One last thing I wanted to say, I've heard that you have something special planned or you're making plans for the proceeds from this book. And I'm just wondering if you could talk a bit about that, please.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I've decided to donate all of the net proceeds from book sales to charity, and I'm just thinking through which ones or which one to give it to. So I'm just taking a little bit of time to make sure that aligns, is in full alignment and with my wife Jessica. And so yeah, we're thinking that through, but yeah, we're gonna make that happen.
Well, congratulations. I'm not the least bit surprised that you would do that, by the way, but I want to thank you and congratulate you. We here at Your Gray Matters are so excited for you, and we only wish you the very best, and thank you for coming on today.
All right, well, thanks. It's been great to be back and always nice to see you, Neil.
Thanks very much, Jeff. Everybody, you're going to love this book, LIT, Life's Ignition Tools. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next Monday. Hey, everybody. Thanks very much for watching today. We appreciate it. Please subscribe to our podcast. It really helps us grow and it makes us stronger, and we appreciate you doing it.